There's a company in Nigeria that started by putting motorcycles on the road. Not finance, not transfers, not loans, bikes. And in less than 6 years, that same company became one of Africa's biggest fintech companies. But that almost never happened. Now, here's what nobody tells you. Before the big win, there was a moment where the entire thing almost completely collapsed. A moment when everything could have ended. So what happened? How did a motorcycle company become a fintech giant?
It's the biggest market in
Stick
Lagos,
with me,
Nigeria.
because
it is
this story
called
is about way more than one app.
Let's go back to the beginning. OPay is owned by Opera. Yes, the same Opera browser you probably used on your Nokia phone in secondary school. By 2018, Opera had already been acquired by a Chinese investment consortium, and they were looking for new markets to conquer. Africa was on the radar, specifically Nigeria. Their logic was simple. Nigeria had over 180 million people, low banking penetration, and millions of people who needed fast, cheap financial services. But the infrastructure just wasn't there for them. So in 2018, they launched OPay in Lagos. But here's the thing. They didn't launch as a fintech. They launched as a super app. The idea was, get Nigerians addicted to OPay services first, then introduce the financial products. Very Chinese playbook. It's exactly what WeChat and Alipay did in China. So they rolled out everything almost at once. ORide, motorcycle taxis. OBus, bus rides. OTrike, tricycles. Kekes, OFood, food delivery. OCar, car hailing. And underneath all of it, OPay, the payment wallet that tied everything together. At the peak, you couldn't walk through certain parts of Lagos without seeing a green OPay jacket. They were everywhere. And then, everything changed. Before the disaster. And yes, there was a disaster. OPay moved incredibly fast. In just their first year, they had tens of thousands of riders across Lagos. ORide was cheap. Sometimes less than half the price of a regular Okada. They were burning through investor cash to subsidize rides and grow fast. Users loved it. Why take a 500 naira ride when OPay would charge you 150 naira? And the investment community was paying attention. In 2019, OPay raised $50 million in a Series A round. Then just months later, they raised another $120 million. In less than 2 years, they had raised $170 million. That is not a small startup story. That is a company on a mission. They expanded beyond Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, Port Harcourt. The plan was clear. Own Nigerian streets first, then own Nigerian wallets. But there was a problem they didn't fully control. And then the government stepped in. February 2020. Lagos state government announced an immediate ban on commercial motorcycles across most of the city's major roads. The reason they gave? Security concerns, accidents, road order. Whether you agreed with the reason or not, the effect was instant. ORide, OPay's flagship product, the thing that had gotten millions of users to download the app in the first place, was dead overnight. Not paused, not slowed down, done. OBus followed, OTrike followed. The whole transport arm of the super app, gone. And it wasn't just OPay. Max, Gokada, competitors were all hit at the same time. But here's where it gets worse for OPay specifically. They hadn't just bet on rides. They had bet on rides as the gateway drug to financial services. That was the whole strategy. Get people using OPay to pay for their ORide. Then they'd use OPay to pay for everything else. Take away the rides, and suddenly you have a fintech app competing with InterSwitch, Flutterwave, and the banks. Then March 2020 hit. COVID-19. The entire country locked down. By mid-2020, OPay had shut down most of their lifestyle services. They had raised $170 million. They had thousands of employees. They had millions of users. And their core product was sitting on life support. What do you do when your strategy collapses? Here's where most companies would have packed up and gone home. OPay didn't. The team made a decision that, looking back, was either genius or a gamble, depending on who you ask. They stripped everything back. No more rides, no more food, no more lifestyle services. Just one thing: money. They doubled down on peer-to-peer transfers, on bill payments, on the POS agent banking network, those small shop owners and kiosk operators who give you cash or collect payments on behalf of the bank. And Nigeria, it turned out, was absolutely perfect for this. Millions of Nigerians don't have bank branches near them, but they have a neighbor, a shop owner, a woman at the corner who has a POS machine. OPay built the infrastructure to be the bank behind that machine. No USSD codes, no trip to a bank branch, no minimum balance. Just download the app, register in minutes, and you can send and receive money immediately. Word of mouth in Nigeria is powerful. If something works, your auntie will tell your cousin will tell their church group, and suddenly, millions of people are using the same app. By 2021, OPay was processing millions of transactions per day. In August 2021, they raised $400 million in a Series C round. Their valuation? $2 billion. Overnight, on paper at least, OPay became a unicorn. The company that had nearly collapsed 18 months earlier was now worth more than most Nigerian companies you can name. By 2022 and 2023, they were reportedly one of the most downloaded finance apps in Nigeria, competing directly with GT Bank, First Bank, and the CBN's own e-Naira for daily transaction volume. They also expanded beyond Nigeria: Egypt, Morocco, South Africa. The motorcycle company had become a continent-scale financial services player. So what's the actual lesson here? It's not just pivot when things go wrong. That's too simple. The lesson is about understanding what business you're actually in. OPay thought they were in the transportation business. The Lagos government ended that theory in one night. But what they were actually building, the whole time, was financial infrastructure for people the banks ignored. The bikes were just the hook. The crisis forced them to stop pretending and go all in on the thing that actually mattered. And if you're building something right now, a business, a side hustle, a product, that's worth sitting with. What are you actually building? Because sometimes the obstacle that looks like the end of the road is actually just a redirect, pointing you toward the version of your idea that was always going to work. OPay's story isn't finished. They still face competition, regulation, and the unpredictable nature of doing business in Nigeria. But they are still here, still processing, still growing. And they started with bikes. If you found this interesting, you'll want to see the next one. We're breaking down another Nigerian company that went from zero to billions, and the story is even wilder than this one. Subscribe so you don't miss it.